It is Monday, and you're listening to Track After Dark. It's the news segment.
All right. Hello and welcome back. It is Monday, January 14th. Welcome to Bamster's News. I'm your host, Drac, and with me today, G.
Hey, everybody.
G-Talk, say hey.
Hi. Hello.
You're doing the voices this time.
You did last time. Well, you did with, was it with Bam? I heard in the edit.
Yeah, he loves it when I do these, goofy greets.
Yeah, I guess I just had too much Fifth Element and going, yay, super green, emerald.
Love that movie.
Love it to bits.
All right, so many apologies. It is unfortunately Monday, so the grind begins. But here are a few things to, occupy your mind or take your mind off of your morning commute in or whatever's going on at your job while you happen to be listening to this. First up, G's brought some interesting news from the table for AMD.
Well, I don't know how interesting it is. It's one of those businessy thingies, so it's, get ready to fall asleep kind of things. Because we knew AMD was going to present at CES, and everybody's going, oh, what are they revealing? New CPUs, new GPUs, and yeah, they did, as expected. The Zen 2 CPUs, which will be known as Zen 3000 series, much interesting. The new graphics card, which is an updated or shrunk Vega, so it's still a Vega, it's not a Vega 2, but they're going to release it as the Radeon 7 graphics cards, which will be apparently faster than a RTX 2080. But with a big caveat, right? Because the RTX has ray tracing, it has AI, it has something else, I can't remember what it is. It has various things in bits and pieces. And AMD still doesn't have that. So basically, they had a little get-together afterwards, a call with all the press, where the CEO of AMD came out and said, yeah, they are working on ray tracing. It is important. But it's not the only important thing, and it isn't the only thing they're working on. So expect it later. They'll talk about it later. They'll get... When the market is there, or should we say when the market is ready to get there, then they'll release it. NVIDIA was first mover, but it seems like AMD will get in there for when it's really profitable. How many games are there now? 5 that support it?
Yes, not very many.
And I think that's sort of it. If I was to speculate, I would say it's coming with Navi, the thing that's supposed to be there for the PS5, for the next Apples, possibly for the next Xbox even.
Wait, are you talking about like the little fairy from Legend of Zelda?
Navi?
Yeah. Hey, listen!
A small thing. If you notice the names, the Radeon RX 5, 75, 85, 90, they are called Polaris. The one they're releasing now, and the one that's in their APUs is called Vega, and the next one is called Navi. Those are giant stars.
Well, that's a cool naming scheme, I guess.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is. So that also means that the reason why it's called Navi is the same reason as the Avatar movie called things Navi. It's from the same source, the name. So it's one of those speculation right now is later this year they're going to reveal Navi. Later this year they're going to talk about ray tracing, probably at the same time, which means we might be seeing, just again pure speculation, ray tracing on the PlayStation, ray tracing on the next Xbox. At that point, everybody has it, right? PS4 has sold 91 million copies, or units, sorry, not copies. So once the PS5 rolls around and comes out with something like this, if that's the case, yeah, ray tracing will take off by that time, not right now.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. The more companies, the more that are making hardware that adopt this stuff, then the more widely ranged it'll show up. The more companies that make video games will be willing to invest in that type of technology, so because they're going to want to be competitive on those platforms. Man, my tongue is like tied today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you're right. The more that has the technology, the more companies will want to support it. And nothing will do that as well as a console release. So again, I would point to Navi as probably being where we'll see it.
All right, cool. Well, amongst the news of new things, it looks like Amazon is going to be looking to launch their own gaming streaming service. Possibly it may even go live as early as 2020. And of course, this will be in competition with Sony, which has already had a streaming service, Microsoft, who's working on theirs, and Google's, who's currently testing theirs right now.
You're missing one there.
Which one?
Verizon has announced one.
Oh, did they? Oh, I missed that.
Well, I don't know how announced it is, but they've said they're looking at it. So, yeah. It's just one of those, yay, we're going to do it as well. Amazon makes sense. They have a game studio. They have, it's not called Crysis, it's called what, Lumberyard?
Oh, yeah. I remember we talked about that like way back, yeah.
Way back when.
Yep. Well, and their game studio is currently working on a few different products. I guess most notably, there's a sandbox MMO called New World. I don't know if that's just a code name or what it'll actually be called when it releases. And a third-person shooter that, at least currently, is known as Crucible. I have no idea if these games might end up seeing a release around the time that their streaming service goes live. If one or both of these could be flagship titles, who knows?
No idea, really. Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah, I'm concerned with Amazon throwing their hat in because they steamroll whatever they get into. They're willing to lose money. They throw money away like there's no tomorrow.
Well, I guess we'll see how it goes. Steamroll, huh? Are you trying to give me a segue to our next topic?
Come on.
Well, speaking of Steam, now the Epic Game Store, as I'm going to start calling it EGS, they've made some changes to how things work on theirs, at least with regards to the refund policy. They're now matching how Steam does their refund policy. So, at least with Steam, if you've played a game for, I think it's less than 2 hours and owned it for less than, 2 weeks, I think, you can just apply for a refund and get the refund, right back. No problems, no issues. And on top of that, it looks like Division 2 will be skipping Steam altogether and going straight to EGS, as well as Uplay. Which, if it works like it did in Steam, you're going to have Uplay on your system anyway to play Division 2, because even though it may be in your EGS account, it's going to launch Uplay when you run it.
Well, what's there to say? That sounds like a nice thing for the consumers. There's much to add. It's interesting that Epic is picking up some of Steam's elements, but Steam is still not, they're still not having quite the same share rate as Epic has. For the developers, I should point out. Developers get more money per sale on the Epic Store than they do on Steam.
Yeah, I think that the Epic Game Store still has a little ways to go, or maybe a long ways to go, depending on how you look at it, with regards to the social features that are built in that Steam has. Also with regards to things like...
sucks.
Well, but they've got a lot more available in Steam than what's in Epic's Game Store. Plus...
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, plus you can't do, game reviews in Epic, which that was something we touched on a while back that I think they said they weren't going to allow user reviews, but one of the things that we had suggested we'd like to see is like curated reviews where, you've got someone who goes through a process to become a curator that's kind of like a trusted reviewer in a way that can then post that stuff, as opposed to, because my understanding is one of the reasons they don't want to do user reviews is they don't want users just like raging on a game and review bombing it. So
yeah, that's never funny. But I mean, if the social aspect matters that much, bow down to your Discord overlords.
Yeah, Discord's got some nice stuff built into it, and their storefront is coming along.
So I don't know. I like the Epic games. As I said, I'm mostly impressed with how much they pay to the developers. So there's an element of saying if you really like gaming, particularly if you like the smaller games, the indie games, go for the Epic's Game Store. Don't go for Steam.
Well, and speaking of games going straight to Epic and leaving Steam, and this is something. The way I'm trying to tie this in here is a little bit of a roundabout. We're going to follow up on something that Bam mentioned on Friday's news, the Bungie Activision split, because now folks are using that split to theorize that we might start seeing Division on other store platforms and whatnot. But basically, just to kind of follow up with what Bam was talking about on Friday, Bungie and Activision have gone their separate ways. Bungie has retained the publishing rights for Destiny 2. And, once that news kind of hit the news cycles, the stock price for Activision, at least towards the end of last week, had dipped as much as about 10.5% at one point, but has started to kind of crawl back up again. Activision's already stated that they don't expect it to have like a long-term effect on their stock. And even part of the other issue with the drop in their stocks may also have to do with, I think it was like 2 different CFOs that have left the company to other jobs. One of which went to Netflix and the other one to another game development studio. Battle.net released a statement also at the end of last week saying that they don't expect there to be any change in service for Destiny 2 on their storefront. So at least for the foreseeable future, folks will still be able to use Battle.net for Destiny. But, you know, aside from the great fan reaction that happened with regards to Activision and Destiny splitting, I think that in one way it definitely is a great thing, because Activision's response was, hey, you know, it didn't perform as well as we wanted, which, you know, it seems to be what these game development studios say pretty much all the time anymore. You know, if it's not making more money than has been printed, it seems like they're disappointed with sales. So, you know, their response was they wanted to put more microtransactions in, and yet Bungie released a statement at the same time, said, no, we're completely satisfied with how things are working. So, a lot of folks are like, oh, this is such a great thing. They can make the game the way they want to right now, and they're not going to be pushed by Activision. And there is some truth to that, definitely. But if you take off the rose-colored glasses, you know, some of these bungles that we've kind of complained about with regards to the game, I don't think were due to Activision, or maybe they might have been influenced by Activision, but they weren't wholly Activision's fault. So I'll keep my fingers crossed, but I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath for vast changes.
I don't know. There were, on the grapevine, already back in Destiny 1, there were stories of people leaving Bungie because of Activision. Even now, we're hearing people inside Bungie were celebrating. Champagne was popped.
Yeah.
Right? Their Activision has exerted some level of creative control, creative influence, which they will do. This is normal. This isn't Activision being evil. This is an investor, somebody who's put money forward, wanting to be sure they get their money's worth. But it sounds like Bungie are ready to take it somewhere else.
Yeah, their statement.
Sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, their statement that they released said that at the time that they were looking to publish Destiny, that they were looking for a partner who had experience in that market, and you know, someone who was willing to start the journey with them. But because of the success that they've had, they're now willing to step out on their own. The biggest effect that I think this will have, because like you're right, Activision absolutely would have had some kind of effect on that creative process. I'm thinking the biggest effect they had was, you know, pushing to keep things on a specific schedule, which may have led to, in some cases, what we felt has been a little lackluster in content. So one of the things I think we might see going forward is that Bungie might release content a little slower, at least major updates, and hopefully that content will be a little more like fleshed out and you know, more enjoyable.
I think it will be more seasonal, and I think what you're going to see is there will probably be a Destiny 3, there probably won't be a Destiny 4.
Well, and that's another theory I've seen getting bounced around, is will there even be a Destiny 3? You know, I
expect there will. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine, and I'd be happy to engage in it, because I'm still, you know, off and on I get frustrated with the level, you know, gear leveling system or whatnot, but overall I do have fun playing with, you know, in Destiny and in that world. And there's a question right now of, might they scrap the idea of Destiny 3 and just turn it into a service, turn Destiny into a service a la like World of Warcraft, where you get the updates, and they keep adding things to the game, but there's no need at that point for a Destiny 3, Destiny 4, etc., because you're just adding to the game that's already there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not going to matter. I tried them. You're too old to play Warframe, so you play Destiny. I understand that. I'm still with Warframe. I'm still going to stay there and play the proper one. But, I mean, they could also... I would be all for them going back to the roots, right? Halo, Marathon.
Well, we're going to get Halo.
Yeah, but let's see them go back and release exclusively on macOS.
Oh, God. You are such a... You know, you talk about them going back to their roots. I remember a Bungie game I played a long time ago that I wish that they would do again. And I don't know if they have the rights to or not. But I don't know if you remember the game Oni, ONI.
Yeah, no, you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Time.
That was a cool third-person perspective game. Something in the vein. It definitely it had an anime feel to it, and it definitely kind of had. I don't know. It was cool.
And to the listeners, welcome to Bamster's Olds.
But on that note, I think we've probably blabbered enough about Bungie and Activision, and I'm sure there'll be more news when Bungie's ready to release a statement about where they're going. But for now, I'd say, from everything that they've said, expect that the roadmap that they've already released with regards to the content that's supposed to be coming out will stay the same, and we'll probably start to see what Destiny's going to look like without Activision after the Season of the Shadow at the end of the year. I'd have to go look at the roadmap again. But for the Bamsters, that is Monday's news.
Well, in that case, everybody, make sure you come back on Wednesday, where it's Comic Shop Talk with Drag and TJ, talking about, I'm gonna guess, Robin and Titans.
With TJ, that's always a safe bet. Yeah, no, this Wednesday we'll be doing our look back at 2018 and our look forward to what we're looking forward to in 2019. So come back on Wednesday and stay tuned.
Ciao.